So first of all, let me introduce Jordan. He Tell us a little bit about your background in marketing and branding and what your experience is there.
Sure. So I have been working in marketing for about 8 years now. I started, I got my degree in design and started doing marketing right out of college. And I started with like SEO companies creating websites and landing pages for businesses. And then I kind of moved on to a branding firm. And from there, we would really kind of try and figure out what the company did, try to figure out exactly who they were and who their demographic was. So that allows you to create the tools necessary to go after your target. So, you can't, um, it's hard to hit specific targets with different types of tools. And so, once you understand exactly who you're talking to, who your audience is, then you can kind of really go towards them. So, yeah, we would just basically a brand for a company, then create sort of like, it's called a funnel in marketing. So top of funnel is kind of just, your average content. And then bottom of funnel will be like, sealing the deal. So you really want to take people from top of the funnel down to the bottom of the funnel.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we did
Wow.
there.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm going to pause you really quick because we're going to come with, I want to come back to that. But those of you, I mean, most of you have seen the website. This guy is the mastermind behind Glow Acting Studio website, social media. I'm sure most people have seen the website or been on Instagram at this point. This is the guy. Yeah, it's beautiful. Someone said it's beautiful. You've done a fantastic job. So just to give you an idea of some of the things trendy. It is trendy. So we'll come back. I want to come back to that. When in modern. Yeah. I want to come back to that. Actually, no, let's just go ahead and tell me like what was like some of your inspiration with like Glow? Like how did you like?
Yeah, so our audience are actors, up and coming actors, or people that have already been acting but just really want to hone their skill, right? So we're on a very the way that we approach this is, we're all friends here, we're all colleagues and everything like that. So we want to have that kind of dialogue with our audience. We don't want to be salesy. We don't want any of that. We just want to empower people. And that's really where we're at. And so, Glow being kind of, this idea about, being empowered and all of that, I took into consideration the word of that or the meaning of that word. And so I've used a lot of, imagery and stuff that will help kind of like make that cohesive. So bright colors and using things that really, just lift people up and make them feel good. So it's kind of like the branding ideas behind a lot of the options that we do.
I love that. Really, really cool. So diving into, I'm just going to go through some of these notes here, kind of following along with the workbook, and then we're going to pick Jordan's brain a little bit too throughout this. So branding for actors, like what is like branding that you need for actors? Headshots. Just to explain really quickly what that is. I know most of you know what that is, but just to explain. Also, Jordan is our headshot guy at Glow. So if you book headshots, this is the guy, which I wanted you all to meet as well and get a feel for him. So when we do headshots are most likely just your head. I'm gonna do a really good job of explaining this. And I'm gonna say back in the day now because everybody's gone green, which means they're gonna say paper. Yeah, somebody already booked headshots and they said, see you soon. So you can hear me, Jordan?
Yeah.
Jordan, you can hear me? Oh, okay. Sorry, you like, it's kind of like freezing up a little bit. Okay, it's like freezing a little. Okay, anyway, so headshots are your face, and then I would say a couple years ago or 5 years ago, it was very common. You would bring your headshot in the room. It has like the black border, has your name on it. And again, you want it to be high quality. High quality is key. Then you have your demo reel. Demo reel is a compilation of all the scenes that you've done. So like my demo reel would consist of like The Fifth Wave, Teen Spirit, Coffee Shop, the TV shows I've done, and have a clip of all those scenes that I've done. And you don't want all of them. You want it to be somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes, likely, which is hard once you start to have more material. And we also offer demo reel editing, which again, this guy does all the editing, all of that kind of stuff. He just is a master of all trades. And then we have your resume, which might have branding on it. And again, a demo reel, you might hire someone to do a demo reel for you and shoot out like just like as if you were on set. That way you have something to show, but again, quality. And then you're at like Actors Access, IMDb. These are things that are part of your brand as an actor. And the other things we may not think about as much, but your appearance, how you speak, how you dress, your body language, and like what that says about you. So I kind of ask you guys in the workbook to kind of come to evaluate those things in yourself and kind of have a brand assessment of yourself. Like, what do we know about Jordan by looking at his sweater? Maybe that he is a creative, artistic, like it kind of looks like you're kind of like more of that kind of type of person by the look of your sweater. Me, I have an audition later today where I'm supposed to be a little bit more Latina, and she is like got an attitude. So I put my hoop earrings on, and then I'm gonna like, you know, I'm not gonna wear the sweater, but you know, she has a little bit of an attitude. So I'm gonna probably add a little bit more makeup. These kind of things you want to think about, especially when it comes to like my brand. But if you guys are meeting me, I don't come across as those things. So you need to be careful with like, again, think about how you speak, how you dress, what's your appearance like. Okay. And then I see your question. We'll come back to that in just a little bit. So one of the only things you have control over in your career is your branding. And this is why I've been so passionate about it lately, the past couple of years, because after I did Fifth Wave, I hired a publicist, kind of like we talked about in our last class. And what I learned from that publicist when it came to marketing is she told me that how I start to dress and how I bring myself to red carpets is how that's going to get me my next role. So what I put what I put out there is that's going to be what gets me my next role. So I started trying to wear leather jackets, and I want to do like edgy, and I was trying to make, you know, more sexy, edgy kind of type stuff, because that's the kind of roles that I wanted to book. So she told me, and I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Like as an actor, we're just like, oh, I just want to be able to do all of these things. But one thing you have control over is, yes, your craft and making sure you're training, but one of the most important things is your brand as well. So I just want to talk about a little bit about the history of branding and like we're going way back. And this was pretty interesting for me because I learned some stuff too. And Jordan, at any time, please like chime in if you feel like there's something you want to add. So in the history of like the star system is what it was called, you know, like where like stars were signed on to studios. And Jordan, you like the show Hollywood. They kind of explain that in Hollywood, the show. Some of you might have seen the show as well. There's other things too, but I feel like Hollywood does a good job of kind of like showing behind the scenes kind of stuff. Yeah, somebody said love that show. Yeah, it was really good. But Jordan, you watched it in like all one sitting, I think.
I did.
Right?
I did.
Yeah,
it was good.
You did. Yeah. It's good. So what, like with how productions used to sign stars, what they would do, actors, okay, this was really interesting to me. This is why I wanted to go over it, because they took over your brand. And now how things work is like, let me go a little bit further than that. So actors couldn't refuse parts. If they gave you a part, you had to do it. It didn't matter if you were uncomfortable with it. You had to do it. You were owned by the studio. They would tell you what plastic surgery to get sometimes. They would put you in acting classes, voice classes. they would make sure like there you had in your contract, you would say you would have to maintain a certain weight. So if you went below or above that weight, you would have like they would you could lose your job. Your love life was arranged and controlled. So if they were seeing someone else they didn't want them to see, then like your whole life was basically owned by these studios. You weren't allowed to have children. Like Elizabeth Taylor was one, like she had to go like adopt kids and then like do, I don't know, there was like this whole backstory on it. I didn't even know all of this. And then the studio hired assistants to come that like were your assistants, but they worked as like spies to see what you were doing in your everyday life, and then they would report those things to the studio. So once you signed a contract, which I think they lasted somewhere between 3 to 5 years with a production, which was the goal back then, to be a movie star, like, but they took over, they changed your name, they changed your hair, they would tell you what, you know, what to wear, who to date, all the things. You weren't allowed to wear pants then, you know, like Audrey Hepburn kind of like pushed the envelope there. And there were some that would, you know, Marilyn getting involved in other things, like we know of some of these stories, but you were owned by the production companies. Really scary. Especially as a woman, as female, probably being owned by a male. I can't imagine all the things that went on then. But now back into the 80s and 90s, they started doing packaging. Like, so what they would do is, and they still do this. So like CAA, William Morris, all these bigger agencies will package their clients together. So they would put like, let's say like Will Ferrell and Tina Fey and I don't know, Jennifer Lawrence. They all have, CAA has all of them. So they're like, okay, let me package all these actors together and let me put this and send this off to this production company. And then that's how they kind of do deals now. But we're not, you know, being controlled, which is great. Like this is why that's why it changed from that star system to how it is now, where I get to choose and pass on any part I don't want to do. I get to choose who I want to date if I want to have kids, like all these things. So it puts the brand like, and it's been, I mean, over time too, it's changed as well, like with agencies being able to like package you, which is still a thing. But with social media, we have now more power than ever to determine how people see us. You know, I just finished watching the Framing Britney, the documentary. I'm sure some people have seen it already. Oh my gosh, crazy. But it was just like interesting because now that she has social media, we're able to see like we get to see what she wants us to see versus like what we saw, like those of us that grew up in the 90s were big Britney fans, like what the media wanted us to see. So it's just really interesting now how much control we have and how powerful it is when it comes to marketing and branding. And as like having a publicist, like Taylor was saying in the last class, she kind of worked as her own publicist for a little bit. And yeah, like you don't like there is a time where you do need it because you need that connection. But a lot of you can kind of do your own marketing now, which is just unheard of. Like even 10, 15 years ago, like you couldn't do that. So this is all pretty new in the industry. And that's why I wanted to make sure we had this class. So to continue here, okay, so what they can see of you is what they think of you. And branding is more important, I would say, to casting directors and what they see fit, and producers and directors. Like I had a director and producer hire me based off of my website, which was not the best website, but I had my demo reel on there and they found me on there and they were like, oh yeah, this girl fits this part. And the thing with producers, directors, they want to cast the person. So let's say the producer and director of the show I'm auditioning for today saw me talking right now. They'd probably be like, no, we're not casting her because she isn't this person. But casting is like, oh, casting knows me. I've gotten close to booking with her before and I've played different parts because casting is like, they understand we're actors. We do different parts. We can do different things. If we look the part, then they're likely going to call you in for it. But again, what I learned from my agent, and like kind of again, like we talked about last class, is that agents again are just about selling you for whatever they can, and then the casting kind of can see where you fit, and then producers, directors want to see you be that person. And I would say the biggest thing, and then Jordan, I'd like to hear like maybe what you think about this too, is like I feel like with marketing and branding, like the marketing books that I've read and that kind of thing is like, it's about building trust and like relatability to your audience. Do you like, what do you think about that? Oh, wait, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
Yes.
You're good.
I definitely think one of the key aspects of marketing is really trying to bring value, and any way you can do. So, whether you're Tesla creating electric vehicles for the world, or you're an actor trying to create some emotion in someone, it's all has to do with a level of entertainment, but it's also creating value. And usually people are searching online because they want to learn something new, or they want to find someone they can relate to, or whatever it may be. So I really think that in terms of your marketing, that should always be at the forefront of whatever you're trying to.
Leading with value. Yeah. Because I think like leading with value, that builds like trust, like we don't go to the movies and see an actor that we don't like. We go because we're like, oh, we trust that they're going to do good work. They've built that trust with us. When it's someone new, we're like, we don't know. That's something that really settled in for me, was like, oh, my job is to like, this is why casting a lot of times it takes time to build a relationship with casting or producers, directors, for them to get to know your work, get to know you, so that way they can build trust with you. So taking control of your brand allows you to control what they see, how they feel and they think about you, and how to make a powerful impression on them. So you want to think like, how you're presenting yourself now, are they helping you get the auditions you want to get in for? Are they helping you book the kind of roles you want to book? Or are they misrepresenting who you are? And are you trying to be someone that you're not? This is something that I've talked about a lot, is as an actor, sometimes, like for me, I'll talk about me, for instance, I want to, and I think I've talked to Jordan about this because I've tried to pick his brain with marketing and branding stuff, is like, I want to be Wonder Woman, obviously. I want to be like the lead of like a Marvel series, or like A24, like indie, like dark stuff. Like I want to do that. But then I also want to do like Marvel, just, oh my God, same, love A24. But yeah, like that's kind of like that's what I want to do. But if I'm being honest with myself, my vibe I give off is very best friend. Like I can play the lead, and I kind of have to come in a little bit more ball buster when I know I'm auditioning for those parts, because it's so easy for me to be like, hey guys, oh my gosh, how's it go? Oh my God, me too. Like I could be, they're always like, you're too nice, you're too nice, you're too nice. I'm like, oh, it's probably because I give off this, like, that's why I play the best friend in so many things. But when you try to like lean away from kind of who you are, you're gonna come across like it's gonna be a lot harder for you. Like for instance, yeah, that's a good question. You can be a wide range actor, but here's the thing: all actors are wide range actors. We all are pretty much trained to kind of do whatever, but you got to take in consideration of what you're going to be cast as, because if you try to fight that, you're never going to book. Like once you realize, so I had a friend, and she like wanted, I don't even remember, like she wanted to be the lead in all these different things, and she like wanted to be like all whatever. And I knew a guy that was like, I want to be like Tom Cruise, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't look anything like a Tom Cruise like character. You're not like someone that looks like they can do like their own stunts. You look a little bit more like maybe a Seth Rogen type. Like that doesn't match. Like you can't audition. Like you might get those auditions, and that's cool, and you might book it, but you got to lean into what your brand is. That's how, like, you look at all these, like, look at celebrities, when they lean into what their brand is, they book like crazy. And then that's what she finally did. People kept seeing her as a cop, and she's like, no, I'm not a cop. She was like really sweet, like all this stuff. And then once she like leaned into it, because that's what she looks like. If you just saw her walk in the room, you'd be like, oh, this chick's a cop. And then she opens her mouth and she's like, hi, how are you? But like she had to work on like her speech and how she held herself. But once she started like leaning into that, she's booked a cop on like 30 shows. Like her career, just like once you lean into it, it's like it's a game changer. Yeah, they would get you in shape for like a position if you like, if depending on how big a role is. Like if I were to book like the next Wonder Woman right now, like I would have a nutritionist and trainer that I would have to see however many times a week or whatever, but they're not going to do that for a recurring. They're not going to do that for even a series regular sometimes. So you're talking like big up there. That's when they're going to like actually try to get you in shape for something, but you're going to like need to be, you just have to lean into what you are right now. Like that's how you're going to book. Yes. So somebody said, are you saying that by leaning into your brand, you'll book more and therefore might be offered a wider range of roles eventually, but you have to build trust first. So for me, I tried to lean away from the best friend brand because I was like, no, I keep auditioning for the lead. I want to be the lead. And who knows, like I might still book that lead. It's, you never know what that thing is going to be, but I have to, like, I've already built enough trust to play the best friend. So if I try to fight that, then I'm just going to be not working for a while, which I haven't been, probably likely because I've been trying to fight that brand. Now, once you build trust, like think about this. This is a good example. Margot Robbie, 10 years ago, would not have been cast as Harley Quinn. No way. No way. She's beautiful. She's sweet. She gives off this like energy that you feel like, oh, she can play like the Barbie, like, you know, this kind of like just best friend or like the lead, like mean girl type. She's so pretty. Nobody would have trusted her to play like a Harley Quinn crazy type of character until maybe they saw like Wolf of Wall Street and like her performance in there, and like, oh, she's actually an actor. She's not just pretty. Like you have to build that trust first before you can go play the roles that you actually want to play. The people that do really well are the ones that lean into their brand and they just so happen to be in line with what they want. Those people do really well because then it's like you're not trying to like force yourself to like want something that you don't want maybe, and that like I don't want anyone to feel that way, but you kind of think about it like this. Like you might have a job right now that you don't want. Likely you do, because most of us here wanted to be an actor or and be working full time, but you might like be a barista or work at a restaurant or work behind a desk at whatever 9 to 5. I don't know, and that's not maybe likely what you want to do, but you have to do that in order to support yourself to follow your dreams for the time being. And when yeah, I don't know, I feel, and that's the same kind of thing. Like if you lean into your brand and you book a bunch of co-stars as the cop on like 20 shows and then you build that trust, then maybe you can be like, oh, well, I'm going to start auditioning for different parts and different things. That like the guy, I watched an interview with the guy from Breaking Bad that plays Hank, and he was like, plays a cop on like everything, you know, but now that he's done something like Breaking Bad, he's built trust that he's a good actor, so now he can kind of start doing some other things. So it just really like depends. And yeah, I see that question. How do you know what your brand is? I'm going to have a whole course devoted to that. We don't have time. We're just going to go over the little stuff today. But yeah, this is just going to be like you a little bit. Yeah. The workbook will help a little bit with helping you like identify your brand. Of course, I got you, but we're going to do a whole course. I'll probably have Jordan help me with it a little bit too. Cause he is like the executioner, as I like to call it. I don't feel like that's not what it's supposed to be.
That's not the same thing, but yeah.
You don't execute people or
I
anything?
I feel like I kill it sometimes, but not all the time, you know?
No. You definitely kill it. Like, look at you. You have a freaking scorpion on your shirt. You kill things, you know? Anyway, but my point is like, I like the master. No, okay, no. I'm like the one that understands how to like do it with acting, but I don't know how to like execute. Like he's like, oh, I can create this into a website. I'm like, oh my God, I can create this into a post on social media. Like I can take your photo and create, like he's the genius when it comes to executing. Executioner. That's not the right word. Okay, it's fine. So a couple more things here. Okay, by being specific with your brand, you tell casting what to do with you in one glance. And this is where with headshots come into play, because like Taylor said, in casting, your headshots are as big as your freaking thumbnail. So you have to make them pop. And Jordan will talk a little bit more about like what his perspective on that is and how he makes headshots pop. So let me see if I just want to make sure my notes here. Yeah, the goal is, especially when you're starting out, is for them to get to know you in like a few minutes or by social media so you can build that trust and book the job, right? You want to be able to, for someone to look at you. Like if I went, this is when I do branding consultations. I go look at your social media, look at your website, and I can already like get an idea of who you are in just a few minutes. And I'm like, if that's what you want to book, a lot of the times what I see with actors is they have a lot of very poor quality photos of them out there, and they have a lot of like just their websites done poorly. And guess what? It's much better to not have a social media or have a website if it's going to be like done poorly, because then I start to think, okay, the quality of work that you put out there is the quality of work that you book. So if that's the kind of stuff you want to be booking, is the quality that you're already showing that you are, then okay. But you're going to have to match, like if you want to be like an A-list celebrity, then you have to put out like A-list type branding. The other thing is a couple other things. Keep your demo up to date. This is just like a little side note there, because a lot of times, like even for myself, there was a couple years there and I was like, oh my God, I have not updated my demo reel. Oh my gosh. Again, we do that. We can help you with that too if you have materials, or if you have multiple like demo scenes that you've shot with companies, or go over it. I do that in the branding consult too. Other things, and then Jordan said this, is value. So money flows in the direction of value. Oh, love that. I heard that somewhere in like one of these. I've done a lot of branding, marketing, social media, like workshop classes type things that these like marketing companies were putting on. This was like 7 years ago, 7 years ago, when Instagram started like taking off. I went and did all these workshops with Taylor actually to learn about like how I don't even know what the names of the companies are anymore, so I couldn't tell you. But and the other thing is, more visibility leads to more money. So the more that you put yourself like out there, the more visible that you are for these people, you just kind of have to think of it, the more you will receive in return, because you're just putting yourself out there more usually leads to more money. But again, quality, 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 quality. So I'm going to go into finding your brand. And please, Jordan, again, chime in whenever you're like, ooh, I got something crazy I want to add here. Okay. All right. So I have a friend that is in music, and I learned a lot about branding and marketing through her, because when she signed with a record label, they spent 2 years basically just like grooming her to find her brand before they released her first single, because they felt like if they just released a single and then she just kind of like went with it, that they were like, it wouldn't have done well. And I'll say who it is, because it's gonna make more sense. Because at first I was like, well, do I say? I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. So her name's Ava Max, and she's one of my best friends. We've been friends for like 10 years. And she had her first single was Sweet But Psycho. And this is just like a really good branding topic. Jordan's friends with her too now. And when she was trying to figure out like her brand, she was like, oh, they sent her all of these questions. And the guy that's like the head of her label is like a brilliant marketing man. And he sent her all these questions. And one of the questions that he kept saying was, what's your niche? Like, do you like to cook? Do you do karate? Because there's another pop artist, Anne Marie, and her niche was karate. Like her first EP was called Karate, because she is a black belt in karate, and like she's done really well for herself now. And we knew Ava's first single was going to be Sweet But Psycho. So I was like trying to help her. She's like, I don't have a niche, I'm just saying. I'm like, right, but like, I was like, do you like to, I'm like trying to come, she's like, what else do I do? I'm like, well, you make paninis really good, and I don't know, like we were just trying to come up like something, because a lot of times like, and Jordan, I have a question for this too, like with brands or like with marketing, like I feel like you kind of, in order to stand out, you have to like find that niche. So I was like, okay, well maybe you're just like the psycho girl, like I don't know, like she's a strong female woman, so she can be like not shy of her opinion. So like, let me just put it this way, we've been out before and she's thrown a glass of wine at a guy. So she does not mind going there if she needs to. So my point is, I was like, well, why don't you, like, your first single is Sweet But Psycho, and you are really sweet, and you also can, throw wine in glass in guys' faces. So sure, lean into that. So she's like, well, what do I do with my hair? And I was like, well, why don't you do something, make it look like you're crazy? Like, just lean into that. She's like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, well, like, maybe like have like crooked bangs or something, or like maybe like cut off one side of your hair, which she did. So now she has one that's like become her literal like logo for her brand, is half hair on one side and long hair on the other side. And this is where I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'm not too bad at this whole branding thing, because we talked about it for like literally 2 years. They made her, she went out and bought a nice camera and had to go take pictures. We take pictures of her that were like high quality pictures, and she would go buy clothes from Nordstrom and then return them because she wanted them to be nice clothes, or hire a stylist to do some shoots. And like, so like, Jordan, my question for you is like, when you're working with like companies, how important is like finding that like niche, or like finding what that is, or like even on like social media?
Yeah. So just as an example, that was a really cool story about Ava. And I think that is, it allows you to separate yourself from the pack, right? Like she's a pop star, but she has a specific brand. So she's a little bit, more noticeable, same with like, say, I don't know if you guys have followed in recent, news, but Lil Uzi Vert, he recently put a $24 million diamond in the center of his forehead. And this is never going to be, I mean, it's a little extreme, but
they saw that.
But it's, he's creating a brand, he's creating something that he will make him unforgettable.
Mhm.
I was working for a plastic surgeon for a few years, and he's a facial plastic surgeon, and he really sells himself as an artist. And so we use that idea to brand his entire practice. So so it was called the Gallery of Cosmetic Surgery. So one, we had gallery in the name, so that's part of the brand. Then each room, so say it was, a room to get your facial, or say it was a room to get, some injection site. Each room was the name of a different master artist. So it would be like the Picasso room, or the Cezanne room, or, so cool. He used that to infuse that idea, to just reiterate that idea that he is an artist, and that he has, this love for art. So people, when they wrote reviews, when they looked at his website, they knew he was a surgeon, but anybody can be a surgeon. But to be a surgeon and an artist, these are two, that gives him just a little notch up, right? So people see him as an artist instead of just a surgeon. So they feel more comfortable with him. They feel like he's going to do a better job, when he might do the same job as someone else. But because he's branded it himself in a specific way, it gives people that trust. And so that was something that I think is so important, is to build a story about yourself. Same with Marilyn Monroe. Her name wasn't Marilyn Monroe, but because she thought that this, being Marilyn Monroe, was going to give her a leg up in her field, or in her career. So
right. Or by the production company probably gave her that name, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, really, it takes a ton of effort. When it comes to marketing, it takes so much effort just to get one person to view your stuff. And so you really want to, like she was saying, build trust with someone and become the expert in whatever it is you do. And the more consistent you are with your branding, the more and more people will think of your name and think of you as that thing. So, for instance, for me, when people, I will post stuff like my artwork, or I'll post, a job I'm working on, or a website I'm building, or whatever it is, on my social media. And now people automatically when they think of Jordan, they think of marketing, or they think of graphic design, or whatever it is. So I've already branded myself unintentionally as this specific person. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but it works in your favor. Anytime somebody has something that they need to do, they know who to call, or they know who to go after. And so for you guys, if say they need a best friend, they know who to call, Gabriella. So, so
I see
I'm
what you
just
did
saying
there.
they already, yeah. So yeah, building a brand, building an audience for that brand is so important. So
That's really, well said. Also, like, yeah, I feel like, well, I work with all my best friends, one, and two, like this Glow team is all my best friends. And also, like, I feel like with you guys, like, that is something that I treat you all as if you're my best friend. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm just being transparent. Like, I'm just telling you guys, like, that is my brand unintentionally. I just realized that. Wow, thanks, Jordan. I mean, no wonder I only booked best friend. Okay, anyway. So, so as we do in another class coming up, as we do the personal life assessment and defining your purpose class, a lot of these answers will be able to help shape your brand. And again, we're going to be doing a whole branding course like that really dives deep and dirty into helping you find your niche and personalize it. We're just going to give you the information here of how important it is. But like some things that had me thinking about was like when Ava was going through all that of like, she added again attributes of her personality into her brand. And then she like would hire a stylist and have a photographer to help execute that brand so that way she could get it out there. And then she ended up meeting with Instagram at their headquarters, and they were like, videos, like put videos up of yourself so people can get to know you and see your personality and like all of that. Somebody said, where did Glow come from? Is there a specific meaning or reason behind it? I was wondering if the G and L and Glow came from your initials. Yeah, it did. Jordan was actually helping me because he did the logo. And oh my gosh, I don't know how many names we came up with. We're like, oh yeah, that's the one. Because I wanted it to have like a deeper meaning to it. I didn't want it just to be like Glow. But yeah, it came from my initials. And it also was like about people like finding their glow or finding your spark. We were kind of like thinking of like spark, or what was another word that we had? Do you remember, Jordan?
yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
like
about,
finding.
that moment that you remember when you wanted to become an actor, or that moment you knew what you wanted to do, and there was that spark. There was that like enlightenment almost, So,
Yeah, or
and
like that, like
obviously it worked out because, Gabriella Lopez, G-Lo. So
glow,
it worked out.
G-Lo. That's funny. Thanks guys for liking it. I like it too. Is there a category to choose? Oh, a catalog of characters to brand yourself. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, there's the 8 characters of comedy, but there's like you kind of, yeah, it's not like I would say a catalog to like brand yourself, but when we do the branding course, there are a specific type of different characters that show up frequently in television and in films. And the more you watch television and films, you'll be like, oh, yep, there's that one. Yep, there's that. Yep, there's that one. That helps you kind of, oh, someone's emotional. Okay, good. No, I'm just kidding. but, but no, thank you. But yeah, no, we'll go over that in the branding course. Or in your branding consultation, I can always help with that too. So, oh, okay. So the other thing with Ava that made me think about was like colors and wardrobe and your hair, and like what does that say about you societally? Which kind of goes into your question there about like the catalog with different characters. Is like think about people in position in society. Like some people are like, what is their job? What does that say about them? Are they like what class are they as far as like their wealth, and what does that like say about you? Like you can walk into a room, somebody can be like, oh, you seem like you're part of this class, and it's so judgmental and a really weird territory to step into. But as an actor, you kind of have to know, like if this guy looks like he's a thug. That's the, I hate using that term, but that's even like what you have to categorize in acting. It's really uncomfortable. Branding can be really uncomfortable. Or if somebody looks like they are present themselves and they have maybe a lot of plastic surgery done, they're probably going to be cast more as like the wealthy person. Again, really uncomfortable territory to kind of step into, because you're starting to identify like class of citizen. And even some people that might have a lot of money might look not like they don't have a lot of money, and people that don't have a lot of money might look like they have a lot of money. So it doesn't really matter how much money you actually have, but it just, how you portray yourself in that way actually matters and translates when you're casting someone on television, weirdly enough.
Like Mark Zuckerberg, how he looks like an alien, but he's actually a human being. Right?
Exactly. Perfect example. Thank you for that. Right. But like, no, there are people on TV, and you know these people make a ton of money, that you look at them and they always play like, you know, this guy that's always in jail or whatever, just like on the streets, and you're like, yeah, okay, what, you make millions of dollars, so whatever. But they just, you cast them in that role. But again, really weird. So some questions I have you guys answer in the workbook too is like, what does your customer get? You know, like leading with value, like always give before you ever ask for anything. And then like, you know, what's your thing? Like why does your customer, or why does your audience want something, and what need are you fulfilling for them? And thinking about like, because for us as actors, we're filling in a job. Like producers, directors, casting directors are looking for someone like you for their film. You know, eventually they'll be looking for someone like you for what that type. So you want to be like, nope, this is me. Like you can be look at you and be like, yep, this is the one. Like you want to make them feel that way. And the other thing that I talk about here is like authenticity. So important nowadays. Back again when studios owned people, and even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, being authentic wasn't as important, but now it's really important. And how you want people to feel when they look at your stuff. A lot can be based on how you feel, and like, again, storytelling, you know, like discover your, and then one way to help discover your brand that you can do is look at roles that you book or read for, and study TV shows and look at roles that you might be right for. But again, coming back to, and I kind of want to ask Jordan this question of like authenticity and like how you want people to feel. Like, can you talk about that when it comes to like marketing in general? Like what is, how important is it to be like authentic and how you make people feel in that kind of way?
Yeah, so I noticed that you a lot of times people don't like know, say, what to post or something like that on, say, social media or whatever it is. And I think that comes back to being in tune with your audience. So, you know, if you don't know what to post, ask your audience, hey, what are you guys thinking about? You know, like what is it that I can help you with? And I feel like the more and more that you create some sort of dialogue with your audience, the more they begin to trust you. And I think being as transparent as possible online is so important. You know, we live in a time where everything is fake, it seems. People are renting cars so that they can showcase a lifestyle that they don't really have. They, you know, will buy followers so that they seem like they're more important than they really are. They Photoshop their photos so that, or they put on filters or whatever it is so that they can show people that they're a certain type of person. I think the more and more that people see you do these kinds of things, the more and more they automatically assume that you're not being truthful with them. And I think that leveling with people on a specific level, obviously we all use dog filter here and there, you know what I mean? And I'm not bashing on anybody. All I'm saying is that the more authentic you are, the more people will have to hear what you have to say, just because they know that you're not being fake with them. You know, you're being extremely real and you're being upfront. something that
Yeah.
Gabriella like talk about a lot is her journey with, therapy. And
Mhm.
a lot of people will see, hey, she takes therapy, there must be something wrong with her. But she comes at it from a perspective and saying, hey, I think everybody needs to check in with their mental health. And I think that this is an important thing. It's helped me in my past, and I think it can help you as well. And I think by opening up that dialogue, people are more likely to hear you out as opposed to judge you right up front. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
I think being
that's true.
authentic is probably because it aligns with, who you are. So.
Yeah, thank you. That was, yeah, thank you. Actually, thanks for saying that. Yeah, keep going. But as far, as far as like social media, since we kind of brought up social media, like how, and you kind of answered on like what to post about in that way when we kind of don't know what to post. But yes, therapy for all. Seriously, yes, I agree. Um, life is hard. Like who, yeah, who told us we like know how to do this? Like that's why I'm such a big advocate for it. Ew, dog hair everywhere. Okay, anyway. So how do you build consistency in social media? Like what's the best way to get like engagement?
So I think the best way to create consistency, or actually, first, I think you need to, before you create consistency, you need to figure out what it is you're trying to tell people. Once you
Okay.
figure out that, say, say you're really big into acting, let's say that, and you want to show people that you love acting, talk about it, talk about what you want to, showcase your skills, or showcase some new technique that you learned, or whatever it is. I think
Mm-hmm.
becoming an expert in your field is so important. For instance, like for Glow social media, we don't just showcase acting all the time. Sometimes we showcase a little snippet from a book that we read that we thought we resonated with and that we think will help empower other people. Um, so you don't always have to do the same stuff. That's kind of like, say you listen to an album, and some band is playing the same song over and over and over again. It's a different song, but it sounds exactly the same. It's kind of gets repetitive, and it kind of gets a little bit stale. I like to keep it fresh. Some people that works for them, some people they just want to continue with a certain look on their feed, and that's their whole brand, is just like the look and feel of their feed. Um, and that's great for them, but I don't know if it always resonates for myself. I think it looks nice, but it doesn't necessarily say anything to me. Um,
Mm.
I want to get some sort of value out of whatever I'm investing time into. So I think that is really important. And then also, I feel like, for instance, for me, I do graphic design, I do a little bit of art, I do marketing and branding. And so for me, what I like to do is I like to create exercises for myself, and then I like to share them on social media. So say I want to do like a new technique, and I've been looking at this new, say, like animation, or this new type of technique that's used in some sort of software. I'll try to create like a small project for myself to practice. So maybe, you know, so maybe you have like a comedy role that you saw in some movie, and then you just want to try it out, and just try it out and see how you do. You know what I mean? And then share that with people and be like, hey, what did you think of my performance? What did you think of this? And I know a lot of people, they think that they have to do it perfect in order to share it, but I don't think that's true at all. I think that just showing that you're doing it, or that you're trying, allows people to open some sort of dialogue about your brand or about who you are. And whether they like it or not, they know that you're doing it. So, and then at the end of it, you can even do like a follow-up question where you're like, hey, what did you think of this? Or how do you think I could have done better? Or what was like your favorite part? What made you laugh? Or whatever it is. So I think that the more and more that you practice, the more and more people, and the more you show people that you're practicing and that you're doing it, and that you're passionate about something, I think the more and more people will begin to trust you, will begin to follow your brand, and will
Mhm.
and then at the same time you're getting better at it. So,
Mhm.
um
Yeah, I
that's
I
on that skill. It's just by experimenting.
yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm gonna add in a couple of things to that too, to be careful of when doing this, because with acting and finding your niche, sometimes like, and this is just because of typical actors, in LA, I would say type people, can come across very desperate, kind of like what Taylor was saying. And a lot of the times, that's why it's important to have a separate niche from your thing. So if it's like, yes, you want to show like, okay, I'm practicing acting. You want to show that you're an actor. You want to talk about it. You want like do everything Jordan said to do, like experiment, show like, hey, was this funny? Like, was it not? Okay, cool. Like just trying like and having a good attitude about it. Don't take yourself too seriously, I think is one tip I would say when it comes to like if you're putting yourself out there, like to do a music example, like Nina Nesbitt, I love her. She like and she like does like will make her own beats and she doesn't take herself too seriously. And maybe it's not like the perfect beat, and maybe it's not like her voice doesn't sound perfect in all of them. I mean, she like does put it through something or whatever. But point being is she's experimenting, she's practicing, she's putting herself out there and saying like, hey, I'm a musician and this is what I do and I'm going to practice and I'm having fun. I think that's really important when you're bringing like acting to social media, just because people that take themselves too seriously and they're putting like audition tape after audition tape on their feed and it's like they're all crying and stuff, you're like, okay, like out of context, watch any performance. It could be Leonardo DiCaprio's performance out of context, and you may be like, this isn't very good. Like, I don't understand. So be careful what snip you're putting in there. Because with music, a lot of times you can hear something and go, oh, that sounds good. I like that in a second. But in acting, it doesn't really, the art form doesn't work the same way. Like, you kind of have to, like, just to be cautious of these things, because you don't want people to get an idea. Again, the quality thing that I was saying is something that's just something to be careful of. And and not to use like social media as a place ever to be like too negative about like you don't want to complain. People don't really like complainers. I sound like someone's mom right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to be like, oh, I hate this like role, I always audition for this. Or when you have a best friend and they just like stab your back, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Like, don't use social media in that way. I feel like that's like should be obvious, but it's actually not obvious to people. And I actually have actor friends again that have like 200,000-300,000 followers, and they're putting stuff like that out there, and then they lose followers because you're like, don't be putting like, be transparent, be authentic, but let's be kind and be doing something for like the greater good and keeping our spirit in check, kind of like what we talked about in the first class. Because when you're bringing that to other people, you're not coming from a place of serving. Actually does more harm than good. And again, with practicing and putting yourself out there on social media, keep in mind your niche also needs to be something separate from acting. And yes, explain that you're an actor, show us that you're an actor, but be careful with low quality. Don't be putting scenes from class up everywhere, and don't be putting like audition stuff up everywhere. Or don't be like, if you're filming yourself, again, you could do it like you would a self tape and kind of share snippets of it that are funny or good. I would say try to lean towards maybe funny, just because a lot of the dramatic stuff people can't get in like a second. So just be cautious of that. Like with editing, like Jordan, you edit stuff. Like if you're editing something and you're only seeing this part of it, you might be like what I see a lot of my actor friends do if they have an emotional scene, you might just see like a 3-second clip of them like their tears welling up and they're like really sad. And you're like, oh, that's actually interesting. Or I had a friend who was doing like a self tape, and then she got into this character and she just did like this crazy character, and it was really fun. It was dramatic, but it was also really funny. So just keep those things in mind while you're doing it, because I think it's really important to do what Jordan said, because you just become better. And the more you put yourself out there, the more you make yourself visible doing the thing that you want to do, the better. It's something I need to get better at as well. But I just be careful with quality. Someone said, can you casting director C, private Facebook. Should we make one that's based on your brand? Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a part of the whole branding course. I'll try to answer it a little bit after, but there's just, that's a whole big conversation. But then there's other topics I want to go over, and we don't have too much time left. But okay, so let's go on to websites, Jordan. Oh, TikTok. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about TikTok. Somebody asked about TikTok. What do you feel like? I think TikTok has been, so I just got repped as an influencer. And they asked me, they were like, what's your Instagram and what's your TikTok? They didn't care about Facebook. They didn't care about Twitter. I think all of them are important, but like, I think TikTok's been huge for a lot of people, and I think it's great for actors, especially like, again, if you're being funny. I think funny sells better quicker than drama. But what is your opinion on TikTok, Jordan?
So TikTok is one of the fastest growing social medias in the last few years. It actually is the #1 social media, like say in China. And I think that it will continue to grow here in America as well. Especially the more and more that these younger generations are continuing to post on it, and just the more time in the market that it has, the more and more likely people will use it. The beauty about TikTok and Instagram is that their algorithms are specifically focused to get the most engagement possible, bottom line. So the difference between, say, like Instagram and TikTok is that TikTok will automatically go to the next post for you, whereas Instagram, you actually have to swipe. So there's a little bit of a difference there, but I think that, you know, and I feel like Instagram has become more of like a business centric kind of style. It's still very much lifestyle and all that kind of stuff and blogging, but it's more of like a page than it is just a single post. Where I feel like TikTok is very quick. It's very like in your face, and I think Gabriella is kind of right in the sense that it's very much focused on as far as acting goes. I feel like it is more focused on like comedy, but that's only because you know, the attention span is a little bit shorter on TikTok, where you know, if a drama, it needs to kind of like, you know, give it a little time to marinate, you know what I mean? If you need to get some emotion in there for it to marinate, where something that's funny, it's quick and it's fast paced, which I think you can do both. I think that if you want to showcase some sort of skill, but like she said, kind of like editing it in a way that maybe it's just like a specific part of a scene. It's not a whole scene, but it's maybe a specific part of a scene that you are really proud of. I think that would be really, really awesome. And I think TikTok's a great way to build a following. Today, like it seems is almost the followers you have and the following that you have, it's almost like a type of new currency. And it allows people to have some credibility. And I think that's so important as far as like casting and everything goes, just because I feel like someone is more likely to work with, say, someone who has like 1 million followers versus someone who has 100 followers, because they already know 1 million people are going to go watch this thing. You know what I mean? They already know that this is that they already have an investment coming back to themselves. So I think that's really important. I think the more and more that you build that quality following, the more you're likely to book things, and just kind of helping to grow that and be consistent with it, because it's like it's literally a job. It's my job, literally. So I know that it's like, you know, you guys have a job, you're, you know, doing auditioning, whatever it is, but it's so important because it's like, you not only are you creating a brand and all that kind of stuff for yourself, but it is like, you know, a job, you get paid for it, right? But now you're just getting paid with followers, and in the long run it's going to pay dividends. So I think that you know, the more that you invest in it, the better. So
yeah, I love that, love that, love that. Really, really good. And the thing is to tell a story, you know, we're storytellers. Once I like started thinking about social media in a way, or my website or anything about telling a story, my actor part of me was like, okay, I can do this. We're like Jordan, he can be like, he's so creative in, I feel like both ways as an artist, because he's an artist, but also a designer and knowing again the executioner. Um, love that word. But I think it's just yeah, it's important to know like, or for me to tap into that part of just like storytelling when it comes to like branding. So
I
quick,
really like this quote
go
by
ahead. Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino. I really like this quote by Quentin Tarantino. He said, um, you know, tell the story that you wish you could hear. And you know, if you haven't seen a story like that, like try and develop that story and try to tell it to people in a new perspective or in a new way. And you know, even like a lot of Quentin Tarantino's movies, they're, you know, Hollywood, that his Hollywood video or movie, it was based on a true story, but he told it in a completely different way with a completely different ending. So it's, I think that you can use old stories, but try and tell them in your light. And I think that you can create some, you know, traction and at least some content that way. You know, I thought that was a fun quote by him. So
I love that you said that. Like Bridgerton is kind of the same thing. Love that, love that, love that. Really, really, that's good. So a couple more topics we're going to go through pretty quickly here, so before we wrap up is, so like with websites for actors. So basically, I'm just going to kind of summarize some of these notes here, and we'll save a lot of these meat and potatoes again for other courses. But as far as like a website for actors, what I feel like is, I'm going to talk about what I think is, and I'm going to pass it to Jordan because he again is the guy. I personally think like if you just have your like just one page, that you have one landing page with a couple of like your art, meaning your like headshots, maybe just one even or two, and then you have a link to your demo or maybe a link to your IMDb and Instagram, like that's it. You don't need to, it doesn't need to be like, I have one page with all my pictures and I have one page with all my events I've done. I have one page, like you could have a link to your EPK, which is an electronic press kit that eventually you'll have when you have a publicist and they put that together for you. You could have your EPK on your website. You could have a couple art, like maybe some magazine articles if you have that, or like a couple headshots and a demo reel. I think it should be pretty simple, and keep in mind like the color and like what message you're telling. But like, when do you think it would be good to like maybe hire someone to do that, Jordan? Like, do you feel like, what is your thoughts on that?
so nowadays, like a website is really like a business card. So I think that it's important to at least put whatever you have. And if you don't have anything, I think that maybe uh, you can talk with me or Gabriella or whatever it is, and we can kind of create some content for you. You know, a lot of people, maybe they don't have a lot of things that they've been in, but we can put together something for you. And that way you at least have something to showcase. Also, I think that, you know, it gives you a little bit of like a little bit of notoriety, just because, you know, you can say, hey, I've been on this, these are the things that I've been in, this is like my personality, and you can kind of showcase that a little bit. And honestly, nowadays websites are so easy, like especially like a little landing page or something like that. Like there's Squarespace, there's Wix, there's WordPress, there's, you know, even if you know a little HTML and CSS, you know, you can create something. But yeah, there's so many ways that you can do it. And at least I think that it just puts things on a good note, and it says that you're serious about this industry. It says that you're serious about your craft and everything like that. And then, you know, over time you'll kind of see like, dang, I actually have quite a bit of stuff on here. Like I got a lot of good photos on here. I've got a lot of good you know, videos or whatever, and it'll just build over time. And I think that that's kind of will help reiterate that, like that spark that you know, remind you why you got into this kind of thing, you know, like why
your
you're in,
video. Oh, there you go. Okay.
yeah, why you're in it. in the first place. It's a reminder, hey, don't give up on yourself, kind of thing. And I think that, that'll be like kind of a cool way to at least create a brand about yourself, create a story about yourself, and then an easy way for people to get in contact with you.
I love that. Love that. Love that. Okay. So as far as now moving on to like email marketing, what, as an actor, we don't have to do this as much as like a company would, like this is my new thing I'm doing, blah, 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 like whatever. But well, we do that. But I meant like as far as like a company, like here's my new product, check it out, or sign up for this now below, like we can't do that as an actor really, but we can tell people. And I'll tell a good example and then I'll pass to Jordan. So one of the biggest producers of Fifth Wave, I ended up getting her email. She actually asked for my email when we were on set because I sent her a little like thank you. I always think it's good to like send a little thank you to people on set, even just the impression they left you with. I mean, obviously, again, be authentic, lead with value. Like, I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm sending something so they'll cast me again, or I'll work with them again. I have not worked with them again. They have not cast me again. I have a good relationship with these people, but I thoroughly actually enjoyed working with them. That's why I sent something and wanted to express my gratitude for how amazing they were to me. So I just sent a little something. It was authentic. She asked for my email, and then since then I've emailed her. And not that long ago, I asked her because I've been now producing myself. So I asked her. I said, "Hey, like, I wanted like she owns a huge company, and then obviously she worked for Sony Pictures for a long time. And I asked her, I was like, how did you get into producing? Like, what's your journey been? I would just love to hear." I'm producing something now, and I would just love to hear about you and like how producing's been for you. I'm not asking her to like give me a job. I'm not asking her for anything. I'm just saying, hey, like people love when you ask them questions about themselves, and especially if it's genuine, and like I would love to learn from this person and be mentored maybe by this person. People love that. I love that. Like when you guys ask me a question, I mean, I turned it into a thing because I love people asking me questions about myself. No, I'm just kidding. But I love to like serve other people. And when you ask someone that knows something about something, people love to share their knowledge and what they've learned and that kind of thing. And another way for actors, like for me, when I booked Fifth Wave, I sent out all these emails to people that I had worked with before, or casting directors people that I had their emails. I'm not going to go search for their emails, but people that I already had a relationship with. I said, hey guys, Fifth Wave comes out in theaters this Friday. Just wanted a little reminder, everybody, that I'm in it and it's my part, and I'd love for you to check it out. Let me know what you think. Let's all go see it together. You can, or in like, hey, I'm having this screening on Friday when COVID's not a thing. Everybody come to my screening. Here's an invite. Blah blah blah. Like there's ways to get people involved on like your email list as an actor. But can you talk about, Jordan, like what? Oh, and also Taylor mentioned, even writing from like assistant at GabriellaLopez.com and kind of being like, somewhat sneaky about it in a way of it coming from someone else. Like, oh yeah, Gabriella's having this event tonight. I just wanted to send this out tonight. You can totally do that. There's no one telling you that you can't. But as far as email marketing, why is it so important, Jordan?
All right. So next time I get an email from you, Gabriella, and it says assistant, I know what's up.
That's awkward. You mean from Taylor? It was her idea.
So yeah, I think email marketing is great.
Uh-oh, you froze. Wait. Hey, Jordan. He froze. Did he freeze everybody else? Yeah, okay. Hold on. Let me see. I have to call this guy. I want to hear what he has to say. But he's on his phone, so if I call him, it's gonna pop up. This is fun. Okay, yeah, this is quite the dilemma. He's really frozen. I'm gonna move on a little bit. Oh wait, maybe he's coming back. Oh, he logged on. He's gonna log back on, I think. Okay. bye. Yeah, someone said bye. It's like he'll be back. But I'll just kind of talk for a little bit longer with yeah, and the other thing to keep in mind is you don't want to email someone too much. You don't like obviously like, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's hang out and let's like keep it professional. Like, or you don't want to be like every week be like, I had on this audition for this and I got really close to this. Like, you don't want to be bombarding the people on your email list with a bunch of information. You want to make sure again you're leading with value if you have something to bring. Jordan, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. I lost
No, it's okay. No, you're
uh,
okay. Okay, so sorry. So start back from yeah, why is email marketing important?
so yeah, we like to use email marketing to just continue that dialogue with people, make sure that they're in the loop and they feel like they're a part of something. We're like tribal human beings, you know, and we like to be a part of something. And so when people subscribe or whatever to your email marketing campaigns, they feel like they're like an insider or a VIP, and that's very much the kind of idea that we want to, make sure that people feel like that they're getting like the best deals or they're getting insider scoops that other people wouldn't get, and that's where the beauty of email marketing comes from. Also, I like to use MailChimp. There's a lot of other ones out there, but I use MailChimp. The beauty of MailChimp is that there are different analytical tools in there as well as automated tools. It's a little bit more advanced, so I don't expect everyone to get into that. But the beauty about it is that, I can upload an entire email list and I can send out hundreds or if not thousands of emails all at the same time. Whereas, regular email marketing, it's one at a time. Maybe, if you were to CC, up to like 10 people, and maybe that's enough. Maybe that's great. And a lot of times it works, sometimes even better, just because it goes directly into their mailbox as opposed to maybe a possible spam folder or something like that. So there's different techniques, obviously, as to how to get the most engagement out of an email. But and you can do stuff like reply or whatever like that in the subject lines and try and sneak your way into, getting the opening of the email. But I will usually create different pathways. So if they don't open an email by a certain time until they open it, basically, and then after a certain amount of times they don't open it, then it just we move on from them, kind of thing. So there's different ways to make sure that you're getting, a better click-through rate as far as email marketing, but it is a great tool. I think a lot of time it is overlooked, and I think that you can utilize it if you're trying to build an audience, build relationships with casting directors, just build more engagement with yourself and your brand. And then also, say you're doing influence marketing similar to Gabriella and you have an audience already. Creating a technical pack that has all of your branding, your analytics, and everything else, and sending those out to different brands and trying to get more work that way is an awesome way to use email marketing. So.
Oh, that's cool. I actually didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
And if any of you are
Jordan, bye-bye. He went bye-bye. Jordan?
I was going to say, if any of you are influencers like that, definitely message
I can't hear
me.
you. Message Jordan.
You guys at least a free whitening teeth kit. So
hey, that's cool.
And you can email Gabriella or suggest through
Okay. Yes, Jordan.
Instagram. And I'll help you out with that.
Wait, Jordan.
You know,
We can't we can't barely hear you and you're frozen.
can you hear me?
Barely. And you've been frozen for quite some time. Are you there? Yeah, it's very choppy. Oh, you're moving and see.
Is this
Okay,
any better?
this is better. Yes, much better. Much better. We were losing you. Everybody was like, what's happening? It's getting in and out. To translate, I think what you said is if you are an influencer, then you can email me and then you can at least get a free teeth whitening kit through Jordan if you're able to influence it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's good stuff. Yeah. Okay. I know everybody's like, this is good stuff. I don't want to miss it. And they're like, it's getting choppy. And you were like just frozen like this for a while. You're frozen like this for a while. It'll be good. It'll be good for the recording. It's fine. Anyway, so
I always get the best facial expressions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I see a lot of questions. People are like, teeth whitening kits, I want one. So we'll answer your questions in a little bit. But to cover the last topic, since we've gone over a little bit today, is headshots. So looping back to headshots, I'm going to talk just for a second and I'm just going to pass to Jordan. So headshots, okay. A couple like just things to know is if you're changing your hair, like if I'm going to get headshots and then I plan on getting a haircut or changing my color or adding like highlights or anything, like I probably don't want to do that. You want to look like you're going to look in the room when you tape now. So like for me right now, like I did my own makeup, like I did my own hair. So when you do book headshots with us, you do your own hair and makeup because I want you to look how you're going to look when you go in the room. But we will have someone on set to make sure you look, a little bit more enhanced in that way, to just do some touch-ups because you don't want to be like, oh, I'm getting my headshots done, so now I'm going to go like lots of makeup and like if you're going to do that, if it's consistent with your brand, I did say doo-doo, okay, whatever, man. You want no, I can't stop thinking about doo-doo. You just don't want to be like, if it is consistent with your brand, then make sure every time you tape you have a bunch of makeup on and you have your hair that way that you did in your headshot, because that's who they think that they're getting when you get the website, the headshot. And the other thing is you want to get headshots once a year, preferably, because just to like, as an example, like the story behind your eyes changes over time, and how you look changes about once a year, once every 2 years. We all look a little bit different. So you want to just make sure, like my hair is a different color and different length than it was a year ago. I've been through more things in the past year. So the story behind my eyes is going to be a little bit different. Like this is what headshots is about. It's what's behind your eyes and being really intentional with each shot. So every time I get my headshots on and every time the camera clicks, then I want to be thinking and substituting someone different, like while I'm looking in the camera. And when we do headshots together, I'm there to direct you guys, to give you something to think about so I can get those different intentions and kind of help you with that. But just every time that clicks, I want there to be a different intention, a different person you're talking to. It just makes it more interesting to look at. You want to tell a story. The subtext, we haven't got into that class yet, but when we do, subtext has got to be like, I want to be able to read it behind your eyes. Jordan, are you on a roller coaster? Because you're like,
sorry. I actually am on a roller coaster.
I knew it. Can I come? Why didn't I get invited? Woo! Okay. So, and then to you, Jordan. So when you're photographing like actors, what do you feel like is one of the most important qualities to bring like to a shoot?
So we were talking about branding earlier, right? And
yeah.
I think that showcasing that through photography is really important. there's different, like, obviously different lighting situations we can do to make this the photograph more moody. There's obviously like for instance, right now we've kind of got like a half shot, but if I go like this, now we have a Rembrandt shot, and then if I move my head a little bit more, I might get a loop kind of shadowing on your face. So depending on the type of lighting, obviously it can change the type of photography that you're going for. If you're really into comedy, maybe we do like a outdoor natural lighting kind of fun, um, bright colors, kind of stuff like that. You know, obviously you want to take your clothes into account, your hairstyle into account. If you're doing like if you're a more sporty type of person, maybe you want to do a ponytail or something like that, and try to basically, as if you are in that role, what it would look like, so that people can visualize, say, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for a sporty
Mhm.
type of person. And this person is literally wearing Lululemons and has her hair in a ponytail, like she's ready to go work out. I can
Mhm.
already envision this person as being this role. So
Yeah.
if there are specific roles, and this goes to your strengths, right? Like if you're funny, then go towards that strength. Be a little bit quirky in your photos, you know, like I always think it's so funny when I see like a comedian doing like dramatic headshots, and I'm like, is this part of like a sketch or something? You know, like, is this supposed to be ironic? Because like it's just weird. Like you would expect them to be like kind of like flamboyant, or like, you know, like kind of,
Yeah.
you know, a little bit more quirky in their headshots. So I think, you know, your headshots should tell a story, and
Mhm.
depending on the story that you want to tell, depending on the type of roles that you think you would best fit. I mean, I personally know, like, I'm not trying to discount myself or anything, but there might be some roles that I'm just not, that I wouldn't be personally good for. So I wouldn't even try to, you know, put myself out in a specific way, or even as a professional in the field. Like, I don't want my hair to be too crazy in the photo, but I don't want it to be too like clean cut either. You know what I mean? Because I don't want people to automatically assume that you're a specific type of way. You know, if you're a
Mm.
financial
Mhm.
advisor, obviously you want to be wearing a suit for your headshot photo.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
really your first impression, your first foot forward, and what story you want to tell the person that's going to be hiring you for the role.
I love that. Oh, you disappeared again, Jordan. Um, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you're there. Okay, so yeah, a couple things to piggyback on that you've said is, yeah, I love that. You want like how you're gonna look on set, like once you go through hair and makeup and wardrobe on set, that's how you should be in your headshot. That way they see it. Like you, I don't want to be like, oh, like my everyday, like when I'm on set, they do my makeup kind of like I did my makeup right now. I'm probably going to add a little bit more since this is a kind of crazy character. I just want to look too crazy for you guys. And then, you know, your hair, like I've been on set enough now to know like kind of what they do with me. So I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of what I'm going to bring to my headshots because that's how I want to look because they want to be able to look at me and go, oh, that's probably what she's going to look like on set, like Jordan was saying. Some things to be to stay away from, and commercial versus theatrical. So like commercial headshots, you're going to be smiling. You're gonna have a nice smile. You're gonna be warm. So if I'm doing like the Lululemon, like I'm the sporty girl, like maybe I have my hair in a ponytail and I'm like, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm probably gonna book some like modeling commercial jobs as a sporty chick because I kind of give off that athletic vibe. Or, but if I'm doing theatrical and I'm like that athletic girl, there's no smiling in theatrical. You can give like a little bit of the, like even if I'm a comedic actor and I like want to be doing like single cam, multicam shows, then I cannot be smiling like this in my picture. You still have to be no smile, but I might be like,
Yeah, and I think this goes towards what Gabriella was saying earlier, is like you can tell a story just with your eyes, you know?
boom,
So you can be funny, but with your eyes, you can just kind of be like a little bit, you know, a certain kind of way. So,
but not too
um,
much, you know. You don't
yeah,
want to, and you never want to be like in costume either. Like you, I've seen this. This is why I say it. I've
yeah.
seen people in
Nobody's wearing a
scrubs.
clown suit when they come to do headshots. Just please leave the
No,
clown
no, no.
suit at home. Ja, ja, ja,
But
ja.
also, I've done that. Somebody said I've done that. Not a cow, but a cowgirl outfit. Oh my
Okay,
gosh. Yeah.
you can bring the cowgirl outfit.
Okay, Jordan. No, just kidding. No, but yeah. But no, thank you for sharing that because no, it's true. There are some headshot photographers that are like, oh, this will help you book commercial stuff. And I'm like, no, people just kind of see that as a little bit green, like the term we learned in last week, because you just want to like wear what you would wear, but you don't want to go to like what you would wear to an audition. You're not going to wear a cowgirl outfit to an audition. No offense. I mean, you might wear subtleties that suggest that, but not that outfit. But I've seen people wear like big, crazy bow ties, weird, quirky glasses, like oh, just some like cuckoo stuff. Like even a tuxedo, I think is too much. Like you can wear a business suit, but not a tuxedo. Like you don't want to go too far. You don't want to wear scrubs. Like you want to be careful. Like you're not. I've seen some crazy stuff. What there was another one. I saw somebody wearing a cop uniform. You know, a firefighter. You don't want to be wearing that. Something to suggest it. Maybe a blue button up. I'm a cop. I'm gonna wear a blue button. Sure, fine. But don't go get a cop uniform and put it, or wear a scrub. Don't wear scrubs. Wear a V-neck shirt that suggests it, but not the actual scrub. If I'm gonna be a cowgirl, maybe maybe I'll do my hair in like braids and like a tank top. And maybe I have like I don't know, just I'm gonna say like that's too much though. You don't really want anything like you don't want to wear earrings that are too much. Like even hoops might be too much. You don't want anything distracting from this. This is what they want to see. Your eyes are what they want to see. So just some things like to not do, and we will help you with that. And then the last thing that we'll leave with here before I stop the recording is, keep in mind with all of this that you're human and you're constantly evolving. So you're going to need to do a check-in with every 6 months and see what needs to be revised, because as I grow and change, my brand's going to grow and change, and what my headshots are going to grow and change, and the art that I put out there is going to grow and change. When I'm 80 and I'm still acting, I'm not going to be using my same pictures. Well, maybe. No, I'm just kidding. But if I get in with some good plastic surgery places, I'm kidding. But I'm going to be a different person. And what I might be passionate about then might be a little bit different than it is now. So you want to continue to revamp your brand over time. You're not going to like Britney Spears isn't going to be using the same art she used for Baby One More Time in her art now, like as part of her brand. Like that's a terrible example because it's music is a little bit different, but like as an actor, like Kate Hudson's not going to be like, here's my headshot, and you're like, you're 20 and you're now in your 40s. Okay, doesn't match up.
I kind of think it's a little bit sad as well. Like you'll see like a real estate agent and they'll have a photo from when they like first started doing real estate, and then you meet them and they're like, you're like a grandma now. And you're like, yeah, I know what you're doing. You can be your age and do it well. You know what I mean? So
yeah, 100%.
To get the role. You know what I mean? If you're just upfront and honest about who you are and what what roles are out there. So yeah.
Especially in acting. I mean, in real estate, at least, like maybe you're like expecting like this person, you're like, oh, okay. Feel already a little betrayed, so it might burn a little it might burn a little trust. Maybe you don't trust them enough, and maybe you won't go with them as your realtor. But as an actor, just imagine like I see this actor, I bring them in, and my goal as an actor is to build trust, and then they come in and I'm like, okay, I'm not hiring you now because now I don't trust you. You don't look anything like the picture that we got sent in, so you want to be careful about those things. So again, Jordan, I don't know if you have to run. If not, I bring everybody on. That way you can like see their faces and stuff if you have just a couple of minutes, just to kind of like chat. Do you have a couple of minutes? Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. That was the importance of branding with our good friend, Jordan Morales.